You talked earlier about a kind of iconic moment in the first episode of Taxi when you walked out.
When I came out of the cage.
Yeah. So you have a very unique physical type. How do you feel that's affected your career? Is it an asset or?
Well, I mean, every character I've ever played has been my size. I think it's an asset. I think it's like it's kind of like what you make it, like in the way you are, how you feel. I guess it's an asset because you're unique looking and people remember you and you can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. I would say it's a plus.
Yeah. One of the greatest episodes of one.
I mean, unless you were going to try to play a basketball player. I mean, you can't play things like that. You can't do two shots with people like Gina Davis. You can't be in a movie with Chevy Chase. You can't do anything with the guy from Shawshank Redemption.
You were able to play the coach of a basketball team, though.
Wait a minute. He's a good actor.
Michael Clark Duncan?
No, in Shawshank.
Shawshank Redemption. Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins. You can't be in a movie with Tim Robbins. Because you see now here the thing is buzzing. Is going to give me a vibrating job. That's okay. You hear it?
I do.
You can hear it. You can all hear it. Okay, shut up. Unknown missed call. All right, I'm going to shut this off. Wait a while. No, Schwarzenegger's okay because that's the joke, you know. But you can't, you know, like you can do like a movie with somebody like Arnold because the joke is, you know, that we're twins and that he supposedly got all the good genes and I got the crappy ones. I mean, it turns out I got all the smart genes and he got the stupid ones. I talked to him the other day. Poor guy. He's okay.
That's good.
I said, you know, Arnold, you're not only in the doghouse, you are the doghouse.
How did you respond to that?
I just break his chops. That was a stupid thing to do. Enough said.
So there's a great episode of Taxi called Louis Sees the Light. Where
I'm in bed?
Yeah, talk about that
dying?
episode.
God, tell me about it.
Well, you have a heart attack and you're in the
Right.
hospital and you have Alex witness your plea to God
Yes. Right.
that you'll change your life.
Yeah.
Do you remember shooting that episode?
I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. I remember it. I remember the bed, and I remember the plea, and I remember how if you get me through this, I'll, you know, I'm sure it was like, you know, just the biggest Louis lie in the world.
You promised to be a nice guy.
I'm gonna be a nice guy.
And you end up hanging Bobby up by a hook.
I remember that. Yeah.
Do you feel like that Louis evolved over the course of the show?
No, I don't think. I think Louis de-evolved. Louis was getting nastier and nastier. Like in It's Always Sunny, Frank is getting crazier and crazier. Wants to do just almost, you know, as many absurd things as he can do. You know, I think Louis, you know, was growing into himself. You know, and then maybe it was a good thing that we were taken off the air.
Do you feel that? Were you ready for it to end when it
No. You're never ready for it to end. You're an actor. An actor doesn't want to not work. An actor wants the thing to go on forever, man, if you're having a good time. I mean, it could be miserable. You know, you could be stuck in something where you go, oh, God, I got to go do this. You know, but thank God I've been fortunate, like, over in my career that I've really never been in a situation where, you know, I felt like I was burdened by the material or by the people or by the show. I was never in that. I was always blessed with that kind of thing where, you know, where I felt really excited about getting up and going to work.
Yeah. What do you think Taxi's legacy is?
Well, I just want more people to get to see it, you know, personally. I mean, I think it's like one of seminal, great shows that was ever made on television. And all in that, mostly in that one room. I just want people to see it more. I don't think we don't get it out there enough for folks to see it, especially young people who are, coming up watching. There's a lot of great stuff on television now, but I wish that, a lot of people ask me why, Cheers is syndicated, Taxi's syndicated. Cheers did twice as many shows as Taxi. So it's on all the time. It's always on. Taxi's on, then it goes away for a long time. Then it comes back. It goes away. I don't know how that works, but I wish that more young people could get to see it.
What do you think makes it such a great show? Why do you think it's still relevant?
Characters. I mean, really characters. I mean, it's a story and it's characters. That's what makes a great show. It's not just bits, and it's the characters. If you fall in love with, I always did. I fall in love with the characters. You want that. No matter what it was, whether it was a comic character like Arnold Stang, or if it was, Paladin, dramatic character like Richard Boone, or if it was, private secretary, or, Beavis and Butthead. They're two characters that you love. I mean, I love Cartman. Cartman's one of my favorite characters in the world. He was one of my. I mean, I watched South Park. Like, they stopped killing Kenny, but they used to kill Kenny all the time. But, I love that show. It's just like really, just crazy. What I watch mostly now is, I don't know if you're going to ask me this, but I watch Jon Stewart, where I get all my news and my jokes. Once in a while, I'll stick around for Colbert, but most of the time it's Jon Stewart. Colbert is good, smart. I watch Keith Olbermann now that he's on Current TV, which is good. Lawrence O'Donnell I like, too. He's very slow speaking, explains it, good feeling to it. If you want a little comedy, you go over to Hannity, because that's like a real funny show. Because they can't be that stupid. I mean, no, they can't be. I mean, the people are actors; they're acting like that, right? I mean, they can't be that.
Only hope.
They can't. It can't be that dumb, right? I mean, that's a show, right? That's like somebody playing Gomer Pyle. He ain't that dumb, right? It's really like that. It's like not they're good actors, I think, and and the casting on Fox is so cool. I mean, all the blondes, the bright-eyed blondes. I mean, like if you were going to do that, like how can you find those people? How do they cast those people? It's just so great. I love that. I love Fox. I think it's really like a funny-ass show. I mean, that's funny. And, and I love the fact that Stewart has evolved into such a great interviewer, even though he doesn't have enough time. They don't give it enough time. I mean, he'll have people on there. He had Veris Masharov on the other day. And, then you got to watch it on overtime on the, all of the commentators that he has on and the funny stuff, But I wish the show was another half hour longer.
Yeah,
deserves
it.
It deserves another half hour because he's so good. And he's evolved into this really guy who's got his finger on the pulse of, like, what's going on in the world. I mean, he's holding it up into the light. He's saying, look at this absurdity here and this absurdity there, which I love. But I don't get enough of that, And I like it to be funny, so I'd I'd rather it be an hour show than a half-hour show. But I have nothing to do with that. I can't control that, can I?
No.
No, I can't.
You revisited Taxi in a way with Man on the Moon.
Yes, that
So
was a lot of fun.
How did that come about? Why did you want to be involved with that?
Well, first of all, it was Milos's idea. And we were at Michael Douglas's birthday party in New York. And he says, oh, that character, this crazy guy, Andy Kaufman. I said, he says, I think I make a movie about it. And I had Jersey Films at the time, and I said, I'd love to do that. That would be really great. And then one thing led to another, and we made the movie.
Do you feel like Jim Carrey captured
I thought he
Andy?
did a great job. I thought he did a really great job. He was so into Andy, and so into. I think Jim is he was really detailed and very dedicated to it, and he carried it to the point where you could have got pissed off at him, but everybody loved him so much. Andy too was like really it's the same thing. I mean, when Ed Weinberger said to me, we're going to do a show this year about your brother. It was called Brother Rat. I was in the commissary at Paramount. I said, oh, that's great, Ed. And I'm eating my egg salad or whatever. He says, well, I wanted to tell you this, that Andy's going to play your brother, but as Tony Clifton. And I said, what are you talking about? Because I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, well, Andy does this character where you don't own up that it's him, but it's really him, and we all know it. But he won't cop to the fact that it's him, and he's going to play the part. And I said, you mean, in other words, I'm going to have scenes with this guy as my brother? She said, yeah. I said, all right, well, you guys are the ones that know what you're doing in this whole thing, in this show. I mean, I'll try it out if you want to see how it goes. I've never experienced anything like this. But in other words, I don't ever say to him that I know that he's really Andy talking to me as in the character of my brother. No. So, okay. So time comes for the read-through that Monday, some Monday, not that Monday, but a Monday. And we're all ready for it. The show was really good, written well, pretty well. And we're going to start at 10 o'clock, say. Everybody's there. Weekend shows, these are the weekend, like the shows were great when we start on a Monday and end on a Friday, because everybody does stuff on the weekends, and that was a great, Monday morning was always a great thing where everybody would come in and talk about what they did, and Mary Lou would tell you this and that one, and Tony and this one and that one. So we're all bullshitting for like at least an hour, and no Andy hasn't come yet, or Tony. Andy was away. Andy was away doing a college thing somewhere. Tony Clifton got the part. Anyway, so he shows up 2 hours after we were supposed to start, and he's got a hooker on each arm, and he smells like how much he must have taken his entire all his clothes. Everything is bathed in this kind of sweet perfume. He walks in and it's just like, he's got a lot of notes on a script. And, everything is like a problem with Tony. And we barely got through the read-through. I don't even think we got through the read-through. I think he had an appointment he had to go to or something. He left us hanging. And we knew we were in trouble. So immediately they started, thinking about other people to play the part, even though it was going to be really difficult to get rid of him. So they I think it was the next day we hired a guy named Richie Ferengi, who's a really good actor, and he came in just to meet us quietly, because, I mean, if Andy ever found out, we'd be in trouble. And we went to rehearse, and again, he pissed us off the day before. Judd was really fuming. The next day he comes to work. He's also very, very late. And he's got the hookers with him. And the hookers are carrying packages, little presents for everybody. And we all had these toys little toys that made noise. He had given us because he was so thrilled to be working with such professional people. And Ed was going to fire him that day. That was the day he was going to get fired, because he was like, there was no, maybe it was Wednesday when he was going to get fired. Tuesday, I don't remember what he did. He pissed off Judd so much that Judd was going to kill him. And then the next day, he got fired. And everybody wanted to see him get fired. Barry Diller, Katzenberg, all these guys from the head office were coming down to sit in the stands while Weinberger was going to fire him. And he wouldn't leave. And he just said, he was going to sue Paramount. He was going to do all the stuff. And of course, he knew he was going to get fired, because the day before, that night before, Ed had to call Andy to tell him that the next day he was going to fire Tony. And Andy said, please make it about his lateness and not about the fact that he's not a good actor, because he'll never get hired again. So they made it about his lateness. But he wouldn't take it. He was supposed to go peaceably, but he didn't. In fact, he called the LA Times and all kinds of reporters and had them waiting there with cameras. Guys were out there waiting for him to get thrown off the stage. He knew he was going to get thrown off the stage. It was like a madhouse.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was great.
It sounds
Theater.
like fun.
Yeah.
You also, you scored another Emmy nomination for your appearance on Friends.
I did?
You did.
Oh.
You were nominated for that.
I don't know that.
Can you talk briefly about the character you played and your experience on that show?
Well, that was the easiest part in the world, because I, a very lustful person. And those girls were gorgeous. I mean, all the girls on Friends. Guys, they were meat hooks. But all the girls on Friends, Jennifer and, Courtney and, all the girls who were just luscious, beautiful girls, So.
And what was your part?
I played the stripper. I was a male stripper. I was a cop. But that was really so much fun to do. And Jennifer at the time was my neighbor. She was still married to Brad. And they lived right next door to me.
That's
and it was really it was a gas. I had a ball doing it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but
you never saw it? It's funny.
It's very funny. Yeah, no, I heard it's very funny.
It's great.
I had so much fun doing it, and the audience was so responsive, and the people were so great, and they were so nice to me. I just soaked that experience, part of it up, and that's all I needed.
Right. Talk a little bit about doing voiceover work for The Simpsons. How did that come
I
about?
did that. Jim Brooks is a good friend of mine, and he's become a billionaire on The Simpsons. And in fact, so they wrote. I don't know how many times they did it. Once,
a few times, twice.
Twice. Uncle Herb.
Twice,
Uncle
yes.
Herb.
Mm-hmm.
But I always wondered why they never brought me back.
Maybe it's time.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't tell them what to do. But doesn't that boggle your mind when you do two things and they don't bring you back for the third or fourth, or why don't they write it again? And you worry about that. You say we're really good friends. We're all pals. But you don't want to be that presumptuous about it. I don't ever push myself on people. I wouldn't say, hey, what about Uncle Herb? You don't bring him back anymore. What am I going to do?
Maybe they know how busy you are.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
So speaking of that, on Philadelphia, why do you think that show has tapped into this American psyche? What do you think it is about Philadelphia?
I don't think it's got anything to do with Philadelphia. I think it's got to do with the fact that Charlie and Glenn and Rob and now the staff of writers that they have are really funny and have their finger on the pulse of what our this generation, 15 to 30-year-olds, are really looking for. And they like it. They like a little irreverence, and they like a little bit of, craziness, and they like an inside curve. We all like to get. I always talk about. I Twitter a lot, so I always tell people, make sure they have a good time. Never drink and drive. That's the big thing. I just tell people everything in moderation. You want to smoke pot, you do it. Don't get behind the wheel. There are certain things you can't do in moderation. Like you can't shoot heroin in moderation. That's not going to work. You're fucked. You can't smoke crack in moderation. You can't do meth in moderation. I don't care what they say on Breaking Bad, which I like, the show. Well, they don't say that. They know that they're ruining people's lives. Every once in a while, somebody can smoke a joint or have a drink. That's something about that. I don't know. You guys not going to. It's not going to, as they say in the Reefer Madness, it's not going to lead to the doom of. I think we should legalize it. I think we should decriminalize it. There are so many people in jail for a joint. It's like crazy, but that's a whole other story.
Right.
But I think that people, generally the people, my kids in their 20s, they all love the show because it's like, it's just like out there and fun. And it gets farther and farther. We keep pushing. This season 7 is going to throw everybody for a loop.
Can you?
It's just like we do outrageous things. I have I'm going to marry a prostitute. So one of our first shows, we showed this at Comic-Con. It was really funny. It's like this whore is going to be my wife because we have such incredible passion. Never ever have I been done by any woman like this whore does for me. And it's like, man, Frank is just crazy, but they don't want her hanging around. She's smoking crack. She's laying there. She's a crack whore. Am I going to marry her? I get lost sometimes in my passions. My kind of, sometimes love is it's a funny thing. You never know what it's going to do. So we do a little bit of that this year. We have a lot of good, really, really good shows. We have a beauty pageant this year. We do a lot of good stuff.
How's the baby going to get worked in?
Baby, I can't talk about the baby.
Fair
but
enough.
The baby is,
Fair enough. Skipping back for a second to Reno 911, how did you decide to get involved with that?
Well, that was John Landgraf.
Okay.
Landgraf had this show, these improv people who were really wonderful, and I think the way it went, if memory serves me, is that we were doing a show, and it wasn't working, and all the cast said to John, "Let us do something we want to do, on our own for you, and see what you think." And they came up with Reno 911. It was the cast, and
Were you heavily involved with that?
No. I was gonna, if the show got picked up, I was gonna do part of a sheriff on it or a guest part. I did a couple of intros for him, but I never really got involved in the show.
Right. So we don't obviously have much time left, and we don't want to spend too much time on your film career, but how do you choose
me, I can talk about myself till the cows come home.
I know, and we could talk about you till the cows come home.
That's the great thing about it. That's why I think, Like you have people who are like so full of them. So how many actors it takes to screw in a light bulb, right? One. He holds on to the light bulb, and the world revolves around him. So, go ahead. What were you going to say?
We're just wondering how you choose the film projects that you do. What is there a criteria?
Well, I mean, if you film, you want to have like 5 good things in it.
What are those 5 good things?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever. They got to be 5 good moments in it. In there, there's got to be 5. You have a good character. Character has to want something. Want to kill my wife. Ruthless people. That's like the Ransom of Red Chief, right? Nobody wants her. They don't. I don't want her. They kidnap her. I don't want her back. That's like the kid in the rest. So that's a funny thing. War of the Roses, couldn't pass that one up. 2 obsessive people like that, crazy people like that, and they got to die in the end. And I'm the person to make that movie. Throw Mama from the Train, another movie that was like, I don't know. Just I picked that one. I wanted to direct that one bad. They wanted me to play Owen. I said I wouldn't do it unless I could direct it too. And Billy was into it, and we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Twins was obvious. Why do you do that movie? It's like that's a home run, slam dunk. Just have some fun. They're all fun. Matilda, my kids brought me that book. They were little kids. We were reading a lot of picture books. The girls brought me this book. I never heard of it. Roald Dahl? Yeah, I've heard of him. He's the guy who wrote the.
Charlie and the Chocolate.
It was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But what I knew him from was the Hitchcock show.
Oh, right.
Because he wrote the one where Barbara Bel Geddes kills her husband with the leg of lamb, and then they serve it to the cops. And the only thing that's keeping them from solving the case is they don't have a murder weapon, and they're eating it. And I had so much fun making Matilda. That was like just a joy. Yeah. My son was 9 years old at the time. Amazing. Age. He's graduated from college now.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. Time flies.
What's your proudest achievement?
I'm proud of pretty much. I look up at everything that I've done in the television department and the movie department as all work that I'm all proud of my work. I'm proud of my friends that I have that I've accumulated over the years, people who stuck with me and that I've stuck to. There are several people that you meet along the way that you don't have anything in common with. That that's always going to happen. But I'm really proud of my family, and my kids are like just amazing, and like I'm happy that in we break the mold of saying this and have to touch iron because that's what Italians do. But people say, oh, it's very hard in Hollywood to raise kids that have a level head and a good head on their shoulders, and it's not true. It's not like Hollywood is not this kind of what you read about in the tabloids. It's individual. People are doing it all the time. People's marriages are okay. Sometimes break up. I mean, people break up and everything. Be a stockbroker and be married 4 times. It doesn't matter. That's baloney. That's not only Hollywood. But it's like, where you say, well, the kids, you raise your kids. And how can you raise your kids in Hollywood? There are plenty of people throughout the 100 and some odd years that we've been making movies and television that turn out okay. Kids of families of movie stars, television stars, writers, directors. You can't put that stigma on it. I think I'm proud of the fact that you can look at my kids and say, holy shitballs, you mean those 2 had those kids? And they were like on television for how many years of our lives? Just think of like Taxi 5 years, Cheers 11 years, Sunny 7 years. It's a lot of years.
That's amazing.
So
what advice would you give to someone that wanted to be an actor?
If you want to be an actor, be an actor. An actor acts. Get out there and do it. You got to study and you got to work and you got to figure out, where to put your hands and things like that. You just have to want it really bad. And I would say that the best way to learn it is to go to the stage and do it on the stage. Go to school, study. If you can't afford school, try to get into some theater company and just do it on stage. Little plays, read that way. Do it that way. Because once you conquer the inner workings of it and you say, well, I know what the character wants, because that's the main thing right there. What does that character want? And you're concentrating on that, then all the other things go away. Camera's there, doesn't, it's not the easiest thing to learn by throwing yourself in front of a camera. How to, the craft of acting. You can get the technique down, and sometimes when, it goes the other way where people are brought in as child actors and they learn the technique really well, and then but they also study. They study the craft.
If you had to sum up your directing style, is that possible?
It's dark. I'm the Prince of Darkness. I would say that I adhere to the comedy. Comedy's good. I'd rather see it in a kind of a twisted, skewed light. I see everything from my point of view. And, the projects that I've chosen have always had an edge to them in a kind of a warped kind of sense of, whether it's Death to Smoochie, which is one of my favorites, Matilda, who has parents who are from hell, Hoffa is a little bit of a departure, but it is about somebody with passion. War of the Roses is just, two people who are meant for each other. And they die together in a really good way over their material possessions. And then Girl Mama, which is crisscross. It's really a lot of fun. I don't know. I guess I have a dark sense of. I remember once being in a focus group and hiding in the back, and some woman said, "Oh, him, he's the Prince of Darkness." I like that.
And do you have any regrets in your career?
It's regrets would be a kind of a weird way to put it, but I think that I wish that I'd worked with certain people who passed away before I got a chance to go over there. And if I had it to do over again, I would be a little bit more aggressive about pushing myself at people.
Like who?
Like Fellini, I would have loved to work with him. Just say, go do anything with me you want. Kubrick, I would have loved to have sat there and done 55 takes of something with him. I almost worked with Hal Ashby. He was he had got sick right at the time we were going to work together.
What was that on?
We were going to do a movie called Vital Parts, but we never got to do it. And it's those kinds of things. I got to meet Lucille Ball. I never met Jackie Gleason. I had a gift given to me once that was amazing. I was coming back from New York. There was an airplane company called it was this kind of what the hell was it called? It was kind of an exclusive airlines. It only had first class. It was 727s, and they had little compartments. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it was called, but a lot of people were flying it. And if you were in a situation where you wanted to almost have a private plane, you could buy one of these little compartments. You could have dinner in it. It was like a drawing room kind of thing. I'm trying to think of the name of the company, but it was around for a while. Somebody will know it. I was coming back from seeing my mom. My mom was really sick, and I was with my nephew, and I bought the compartment, You buy 4 seats, so Freddie and I could stay in there and eat dinner. I wouldn't have to talk to anybody or be out there. And I was in the lounge before the plane was leaving, and I saw Milton Berle there. And Milton Berle was smoking a cigar, and he was all alone. And it was at the time when you could smoke cigars in the lounge. And he was trying to finish it because the plane was going to leave. And I said to Freddie, I said, man, there's Milton Berle over there, you know. And we went and we got on that plane and took off, and he was sitting out in one of those single seats in the front by the bar. And it was a little tiny seat. So I went over to him and I said, Milton, you know, and he recognized me from the show. And I said, for my nephew and I are in the back here. Would you like to have dinner with us for the rest, you know, and fly back with us to, well, we were already in the air. And he said, oh, yeah. And he came in the back, and he sat in the booth thing. It was spacious, kind of cool. There was a big table. And we ate dinner and listened to Milton Berle for 5 hours or more on this plane ride back from New York to L.A. And not only did we listen to like a million incredible stories, but he said out of the blue, you know, I do card tricks. And we got the cards from the flight attendant, and that was it. It was like one incredible. And Milton Berle was like when I was a little kid, and I used to see Uncle Milty would come out on stage, walk around and do his feet thing, you know, boop, 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 where he'd walk on the sides of his feet. And every time he said makeup, some little guy would come out and hit him in the face with the makeup. You know, I mean, he was the greatest.
What is it like to have someone like that iconic recognize you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, television is like that, you know, even now, I mean, but then it was like there was only 3 networks. And, you know, we were on ABC, and there was no way to get away from us. So everybody knew you overnight. Like I told the guys on Sunny, they're going to not be able to do. I can't walk around anywhere, right? And I said, you know, very soon it's going to happen to you guys. It took a little longer because we were on cable. But now it's like busting out where Charlie and Rob and Glenn and, you know, it's like, you know, you're in everybody's living room. And it's a great thing. It's a great thing. But, you know, I was with my kids once in an airport, and Red Buttons sent somebody over to me. This is Red Buttons. God. And I was like a young man with my 2 kids before, probably Jake wasn't even born yet. And I had a thing, we were in an airport lounge, and I had the thing laid out. And a man came over to me, like a bodyguard guy came over. He says, Mr. DeVito, Mr. Buttons would like to come and talk to you. I said, okay. I said, yeah, come on, tell him to come over. And he came over to me and he said, you know, I've been watching you with your kids. He said, I think it's the greatest thing in the world, the way you're with your kids. He said, and I'll tell you why this is something I want you to know. He said, I just had occasion. I was always on the road, right? I was always here, there, everywhere, doing movies, playing Vegas, going to New York, you know, and I have kids. And we're trying to get together now again in my later years because we were estranged. We were, you know, and he said, we just sat down just recently, me and my kids, and with all of my kids, I figured out that my traveling took 15 years away from our relationship. So that's something for you to think about. And man, I'm telling you, I thought about it from that moment. Here's Red Buttons telling me, you know, what's more important. You know, and so from that day on, I mean, I always tried to be with them, but from that day on, I made an extra effort to, you know, if I was going to do a movie, make sure that, like, I mean, when Rhea was pregnant with Gracie, I We found that I was doing a movie in New York. We found an obstetrician in New York. We moved everything to New York so she could have the baby in St. Vincent's Hospital. So my oldest daughter was born in Cedars. My middle daughter, my middle child, Gracie, was born at St. Vincent's Hospital in New York because I was doing the movie there. And then I went to Morocco. 5 weeks old, we wrapped her up and stuck her under a seat and brought her to Casablanca. There was no way I was going to go on these trips alone. So I brought them with me almost everywhere I went until they got to the point where they were in high school where we couldn't do it anymore. So the great thing about it is that, you know, Rhea also always kept that in mind, that the family was first. You know, you had to be pulled apart, you know, and everybody's human. And there's always going to be things that are going to happen in your life. But if you keep that thing, like, solidified and, like, focused, you know, that's going to pay off big time.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I think we're done.
Thank you very much. Watch television.
Thank you so much.
Okay.